You're listening to the news roundup on Gold FM.
This is the local news on Gold FM.
In your top story this evening, a fragile 2-week ceasefire between the US and Iran has taken effect, announced by the president in a late-night Truth Social post barely an hour before his deadline for reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Trump described the pause as a double-sided ceasefire, saying the US would suspend all bombing and attacks on Iran for 2 weeks, conditional on Iran allowing for complete, immediate and safe opening of the vital waterway. Now, in a fresh update this evening on Truth Social, Trump declared there will be no enrichment of uranium by Iran and that the US will work with Tehran to dig up and remove all deeply buried nuclear material, which he said remains under satellite surveillance. He confirmed the US will discuss tariff and sanctions relief with Iran as a part of longer-term talks. And for an analysis on whether this 2-week ceasefire can survive the early tests and the lead to lasting peace, we can cross to Professor Michael Clark, who gave this analysis to international network Sky News.
Well, in theory, yeah, Kamali, that's what we've done. Apocalypse now to apocalypse in a little while, apocalypse in 2 weeks' time. So in theory, everything stays the same, but it is because this is Trump's 6th deadline. Up to yesterday, we'd had 5 shifting deadlines. Now this is the 6th. And the Iranians come out on top. And whatever is being said in the United States and whatever is being said in the Oval Office, I think the rest of the world can see that the Iranians are in a stronger position now than they were before the 28th of February when all this began. And they're making their demands. And interestingly, so the Strait of Hormuz is going to be open, in theory, from today. So President Trump seems to say, well, that means we've succeeded. Well, the Strait of Hormuz wasn't a problem before this attack began. And now Araghchi, the Iranian foreign minister, is very interesting. He's saying the Strait of Hormuz will be open subject to the supervision of our armed forces and due consideration for technical details. Well, it's nothing to do with the Iranian armed forces or technical details. The Strait of Hormuz is an international waterway. It's nothing to do with Iran. They have no power over it, any more than we have power over the English Channel, as it were, 21 miles straight at the Strait of Dover. You know, that's an international waterway. So the fact that the Iranians are implying that they'll open the straits, you know, given their generosity in opening the straits, means that, of course, they reserve the right to close them again. So we're halfway towards normality on the Strait of Hormuz, but only halfway. And as I say, the Strait of Hormuz was not a problem before this war began. I think the president exists in his own reality. What we know of those 10 points that the Iranians have put forward includes the withdrawal of all Americans from the Middle East, you know, all 40,000 of them from 30-odd bases. Well, that's not going to happen. It includes the payment of reparations to Iran for all the damage that's been caused. That's clearly not going to happen. It includes the right of Iran to have civil nuclear power. Now, that might be agreed because that's where we started from. That goes back to the Obama Agreement of 2015. I call it the Obama Agreement, the JCPOA that President Trump wrecked in 2018. And the 2015 agreement was, yes, you can have civil nuclear power, but you can't take it to a nuclear weapon level. It looks as if the United States seems to be agreeing that now, when Trump had previously said, you know, that's not off the table. It's not acceptable. So these 10 points that the Iranians have put forward cannot possibly be acceptable to America or to the rest of us, to be honest. And in contrast, the Americans put forward a 15-point plan. So what we've got is a 10-point plan on one side, 15-point plan on another. Whether they can be molded together by Egypt, Turkey and Pakistan, all of whom are playing a pretty good role here. And I have to say, I'm quite critical of Ayman Munir, the chief of staff of Pakistan, effectively the ruler, and Shehbaz Sharif, because between them they're running a military dictatorship. But they've played a good role here. They've done a good job in keeping everybody talking, and so have the Egyptians and the Turkish foreign ministries. So, you know, all credit to them for getting apocalypse delayed a little bit. But whether they could put together these 10-point plan on one side and 15 on another, I don't think they will. What we're looking at is an extension of the ceasefire, probably.
Now for some news in brief. This is the local news on Gold FM.
The Auditor General exposed a procurement disaster, revealing that the contract to supply substandard coal to the Norochale power plant for the 2025 to 2026 period was handed out in flagrant violation of the rules. A special audit report into the Lanka Coal Company's purchasing process tabled in Parliament yesterday following a directive from the Committee on Public Enterprises shows that the entire process was administrative incompetence. The report highlights that India's Trident Shemfar Limited was awarded a contract for 1.5 million metric tons, despite not being a registered supplier when bids closed on the 18th of August last year. By bypassing the rules to favour an unregistered firm, the Lanka Coal Company essentially slammed the door on other qualified suppliers, trashing the principle of fairness that is supposed to govern public tenders. It appears the quality control process was also problematic. The firm chosen to inspect the coal at the loading port, Mitra SK South Africa, did not actually have the necessary accreditation to perform the required tests. The task was then handed to an Indonesian company, PT Mitra SK Analisa Testamana Samarinda, whose license had expired in December and remained unrenewed well into last month. The Lanka Coal Company also seemed to have significant problems with patience, signing the final agreement with Trident Shemfar Limited on the 19th of November, the day before the Attorney General actually granted approval for the draft. The Auditor General estimates that this has cost the country a staggering 2.2 billion rupees in losses due to excessive consumption of substandard coal. Even a desperate emergency purchase from the Tauranjot resources on the 18th of last month proved to be a dud, as the historical supplies were found to be below the thermal rejection level of 5,900 kilocalories. Now, despite having multiple chances to appoint independent inspectors or oversee the loading process, the Lanka Coal Company simply failed to act, leaving the system to generate an additional 76,354,087 kilowatt hours just to compensate for the poor quality of the fuel provided. Now, in the meantime, the opposition leader Sajith Premadas informed Parliament today of a proposal to increase electricity tariffs by 30% starting next month. The disclosure sparked a heated debate regarding the rising cost of living and energy policy. The Pettah Central bus stand officially reopened today following a comprehensive modernization project. Completed under the Clean Sri Lanka initiative at a cost of 424 million rupees, the facility now serves the public with upgraded infrastructure. Meanwhile, transport authorities launched a special integrated plan to facilitate travel for the Sinhala and Tamil New Year. Operating from today until the 20th of April, the initiative includes 1,500 additional bus trips and extra train services.
Now for some news in brief.
The All Ireland Catering and Event Venue Owners Association announced a 15% price hike for their services starting today in response to rising gas and fuel costs.
The business news on Gold FM.
The all-share price index of the Colombo Stock Exchange closed at 21,917.60 points after a notable gain of 885.14 points today. The S&P SL 20 index also gained 257.68 to close at 6,090.50 points. Turnover totaled 6.6 billion rupees.
International news on Gold FM.
We now move to an update just in from Iran's semi-official Fars news agency, which reports that the passage of oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz was halted due to Israeli attacks on Lebanon. In the meantime, Israel is also reporting fresh rocket and missile fire in northern areas, including Kiryat Shimona, according to foreign media networks.
Entertainment news on Gold FM.
The stepmother of the late Friends actor Matthew Perry requested a judge hand the maximum possible prison sentence to the woman who sold the drugs that killed him. Debbie Perry submitted a victim impact statement to a California court, stating that Jasmina Sangha, known as the Ketamine Queen, caused irreversible damage.
Sports news on Gold FM.
Daniil Medvedev obliterated the racket as he suffered the first 6-0 loss of the career at the hands of the Matteo Berrettini in Monte Carlo. The Russian player, known for his volatile temperament, put in an abject 49-minute second-round performance against the world number 90. That's all the news for now. Stay tuned to Gold FM for the latest updates. This is Abhinindra Soma for Gold FM News.